Okay, abusuya be mama kwa abasronko so edeba POG Media so. Abusuya ma yembonra eye nsemu. Eye C.Dapaa abusuya Cecilia no eye oratim afile evidence documenta omo ede kwa akoma eye John Dramani Mahama na John Dramani Mahama so no aye den a proceed process na chese yisi ana ya chance ya prosecute amanfo abusuya Jense momren mom yanko na yanko nkotie ensem ekọ C.Dapaa ni din apiema abusuya ono ena list no echese nioma akeka kono ono ena ye be sha ase ahwe ni nsemu first asisi and prosecution no aben asisi C.Dapaa de nse ukuniti echese obo oratim ne dem a echese opa achewo ne ade sisi aso de nioma aye too later omoko akopusi proceed the document bia ede ama John Dramani Mahama yense mom yanko na yanko nkotie medamase
expecting that should have answered before the committee, even though he didn't answer, or in fact, at the instance of the chair did not allow it. I thought that the Ghanaian people also needed and deserve answers to these questions. And that's one of the reasons why we did this morning. But you asked a question about this Airport Hills matter and the fact that Ghanaians also deserve some detail, especially because of what he has been doing and the kind of standards that he has also put himself to. Listening to this right now, is it that the minority have to do more work to get much more detail, or for you, based on the questions that he wasn't allowed to ask, or sorry, to answer before the appointments committee? Just a quick one, because we need to round up.
Okay. So I mean, to be honest, he's done extremely well by coming forward and giving a lot of this information. So, Honorable, not to put you on the spot, but maybe the last thing you can just do to put this, maybe go ahead and give them the declaration.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, the asset declaration.
Yeah, okay, sure. Yes. Then, sure. You know, because that's even what we are fighting for, in a way, saying that President Mahama should have the law amended. So we are looking at the Act 550, right? Maybe if then it just settles it once and for all, because you know that's what. And I like your point that there were lots of sins, a lot of bad things that were done in the past, but backed by law. So you know when Addo took over, right? Yeah. He no, that's the one. Just let me make the point. Oh no, not Addo. The other Baba goes slow. Buhari. So the law said he needn't have disclosed, but he came straight, declared the assets publicly, the number of cows, the number of houses, and it was fantastic, right? Yeah, so we can always have law. And I like, let's repeat, law. You can use law for a lot of evil. Yeah. You see, but when people are not enlightened, we think, oh, everything that's written in law is good. Look at this constitution we have. You think this is a good constitution? A constitution that retards your progress, makes the judiciary subservient to the executive, etc. Do you think this is a good constitution? Right? So there are laws. The of the law sometimes are suspect, right? So maybe if you just did that finally, because then you see history will record you as even being the trailblazer, something we've been fighting for over 20 years. Because look, in the past, haven't I brought asset declaration forms of what do you call it? Mary Grant, J.J. Rawlings himself, P.V. Obey. They are the assembly press. Today, if you went to assembly press, you will get copies from the 90s. So if you did, I think that would just seal everything forever. And who knows, you know, and I'm not ashamed of it. I've said it. I'm not a member of your party, but I can say that, listen, in 2028, going into the election, if NDC doesn't make you a vice presidential candidate, I don't know what else. No, we have to say, I mean, it's a record. Listen, we have to be bold. But I've said it before here. Yes. I mean, if you look at the track record, what he's done, if NDC doesn't have this man for a vice presidential candidate, I don't know what they'll be doing in that election. Right? Yes. So go ahead, declare. then you be the trailblazer.
Let me bring in.
It's a good suggestion. I think I think it's something I think we should consider. Yeah.
Why? Okujeto for vice president is killing you.
Council.
A black man for vice president is your problem.
Let me bring the founding president of Imani Africa in on this because he had also asked some questions.
Frankly, what do you think? No, look at the
implementation of please come. I want to hear your thoughts on the questions that bothered on, because you also had some questions on the on the matter of the airport hills and so on. The detail that has been provided now.
Yes, and indeed, kudos to my good brother Kujeto. You know, look, once you're in public office, obviously every light is on you, right? So it is expected that once there are any doubts that are obviously raised about an issue, I think the person involved should be allowed to explain himself quite well. And I got worried when the chairman of the committee sort of stopped the process. But I think I probably understand why he did that. Now I understand that, well, then everybody, we're going to uncharted waters because anything that thought could be asked. But on a specific issue, I think Honorable Kujeto has creditably answered the question. And I think he's provided evidence as well. And I think at this stage, whoever is contesting the matter must also provide counter evidence. And I think I'd like to congratulate him for doing that. I think these are examples we should all emulate. In the heat of things, of course, people would question your integrity and everything. But at least now it's obviously answered the question. And I think the matter should be rested for now. I don't think it is. I mean, why would he lie about a property that is rented? I mean, I was worried that the answers were not. I mean, it'll be important to look at the missions and then rationalize as to which ones bring us a lot of probably grace and revenue, not just revenue, but also maybe some grace. And I mean, respectable grace. And on that, I think that I like the interventions you are going to make, and knowing exactly how you think. I believe Ghana will be the better for it. So congratulations once again, my good brother.
Great. And I know you've got to leave us, and we're even going to have to round up in a bit again to the next phase with Lawyer C.Dapaa, acting CEO of the NPL, also joining us. But the next phase of oral as well, because next week they're expected to present their report. The concern is that the president will still have to rely on the same state institutions that are perceived to have some weaknesses, and reason why this oral team has received so much support and commendation. So does it not come back to square one? Because then these same state institutions are going to have to prosecute the information that they have received so far.
You know, what I think they might do, and Honorable Kujeto, I'm sure people would also agree, maybe you should look to what the Brazilians did and some other countries that have actually done this, what I call some sort of house cleaning legally. And I think they went beyond the current prosecutors. Of course, Ghana, we don't even have many of them. But because of bias and probably politically motivated, thoughts, this country is actually employed a phalanx, a lot of prosecutors. I mean, very credible prosecutors who expedited the process. So I think if we have any fears that the current institutions, including the AG's department, is overwhelmed, I mean, I don't know what the numbers there currently are, but it will appear to me that then what the government ought to do, maybe the oral team should suggest, and probably work with the OSP, get a lot more prosecutors who may not be really attached to, they don't have emotions attached to their positions as prosecutors of the AG department or nothing. Get them, a lot of them. There are many law firms, so I'm sure many people will be willing. Get them some quick training, and then let them get on with the business. Because if indeed the issues are many, first of all, they have to be processed. Because I'm not sure every issue would follow every lead. So it would be important to go beyond the current prosecutors we have, and then rent a few more, and then let's get on with it. I certainly welcome this intervention.
I see. And because there had been that concern and also the recommendation that maybe an overhaul of all the state institutions that are supposed to prosecute the findings of oral should be the next focus, so that the judiciary, Shraj...
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I lost you about 3 seconds.
Yes, there have been recommendations about an overhaul of the institutions supposed to prosecute the information that oral has received, so that the judiciary, Yoko, all the others as well. Is it one that you would support quickly?
An overhaul of institutions, I think for me is the leadership that actually matters. It's not really about overhaul. Maybe overhaul here would mean that you are putting men and women who are men of integrity, who really want to leave legacies in those institutions. I think the institutions really do well. The problem has always been the fact that the persons who lead them are either timid, have become very so much more embedded with the subsisting government at the point in time. And I think that is the major issue. I yield to the people who suggest that all anti-corruption institutions should actually be probably merged into one, because sometimes, the Yoko is doing this and then see, what's it called, the other department, OSP is doing. That spectacle we saw the last administration was quite frankly, not a good thing at all. I mean, you don't see institutions fighting among themselves, fighting corruption. I think corruption has become very difficult to defeat. And so for me, oral is a good thing, and we at Imani actually fully support it. And I think we were discussing this matter over the last week or so. And again, they suggested that maybe the government should actually go beyond just the existing institutions. I'll probably look out for prosecutors wherever they are, rent a few ones, and then get on with this. I'll be happy to read their reports.
Mr. Kujo, I really do appreciate your time on this matter, and maybe just finally, and we're
Yes.
done on this before Mr. Blackwell will leave us as well, because the next phase of the conversation will still continue on the path of what the next stage of oral will be. Very quickly and finally, before we go, quick one.
I agree with Franklin, and let me thank him for his kind words. We'll be working closely with civil society to make sure that we are really able to pursue our foreign policy objectives. And Imani is one of the very credible civil society organizations that we have in our country. On the Brazilian model he spoke about, is really worth considering, and I believe that, in a sense, what we are trying to do, if you look at the manifesto, President Mahama is saying that he would like to, open up the space, bring back the tribunals, and try some, new institutions, bring some fresh air, and allow for more room in terms of the focus in dealing with this corruption and state capture related matters. And the Attorney General, the hardworking, dynamic Dr. Ayeni,
yes,
at his vetting, he indicated clearly that he's committed to these reforms, the tribunals, and giving more powers to our anti-corruption institutions. So I think that, in a sense, the NDC manifesto attempts to adapt that Brazilian model. But when all is said and done, it is really about the Attorney General, how he will really pursue these matters. Right. It is about the evidence. It is also about how our judiciary will be. And, fortunately, in some of these matters, the judiciary themselves have seen the consequences of this. You know that the judiciary has a pending case, the Judicial Service of Ghana, about how their properties, their lands, bungalows belonging to judges, have been looted. And so they are in court. So they themselves now, see how crucial this whole oral agenda is, because they have become an affected institution. So I expect that we'll see a new attitude. And as we move into phase 2 of oral, where the Attorney General takes charge and begins to carry out further, investigations and prosecutions and retrievals, which is what we want to see, because we want to see these state assets come back to the Ghanaian people to be used for the benefit of the Ghana. The Constitution is very clear. Public lands belong to the people of Ghana. It should not be hijacked by a few political elite.
Right.
So I'm very confident. President Mahama has a political will, and he has served notice that those in his government who attempt some of these things will be punished. Charity will begin at home.
Okay.
And I think that should give us, some confidence. And I have confidence also in the Attorney General,
okay.
Dr. Ayeni, to deliver.
Right.
As President Mahama certainly will be handing over.
Akwa is Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs for the Republic of Ghana, the youngest Foreign Affairs Minister in Ghana's history, and his first exclusive interview as Foreign Affairs Minister on a number of issues that we've talked about this morning. And I'll read through a number of your messages. We have 2,663 of your messages.
Wow.
I certainly couldn't have read all, but as many as I could is what I transformed to some of the questions that you had me ask. I hope that you may have covered all the issues as well. I'm going to go for this quick break. When we're back, the next phase of the oral...
Trying to get information, trying to see the latest on our political sphere, because, the politics controls everything. Because once you have the executive power, you end up controlling everything in Ghana. Mm-hmm. And so we should be happy that our citizens are keen, trying to see how we can move this country forward, right? And so in this regard, I repeat that call I made last week, that we beg Mr. Speaker to do something about the speakers, the vetting room, if I call it so, where the vetting takes place.
Okay.
It's way too small.
Okay.
For those who are saying people should sit at home and watch and not come to Parliament, then what's the logic in creating football stadia? People can also sit at home and watch the matches. Aren't we saying people should come to the stadia to support the teams, etc.? And so why does it have to be different when it comes to politics, when we are even showing that even for football and everything else, it's the politics that controls it. You remember a few months ago, Ghana didn't even have a FIFA class pitch to host our matches. Mm-hmm. We're going to host our matches elsewhere until last-minute maneuvers were made. So please, we need a bigger place for the vetting. Let as many as 1,000 people come. Because if you read the books, Socrates and Plato, etc., you check ancient Greece. Yeah, they will tell you how people used to go to the parliament. Many people would go and support. Because if you don't participate, if you don't take part, you end up being ruled by what? Fools, right? Yeah, and so as usual, I want to greet former Chief Justice of Akuffo, Antwa. Okay. Thank you very much for always wading in. Her latest is that the Constitution must be what? Revamped properly, especially when it comes to the judiciary. She says the judiciary is not independent, something that we've also been saying here. Mm-hmm. So it's good to see a former Chief Justice also wading that the president shouldn't be appointing justices of the superior courts. That's the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, and High Courts. No. Let's have an independent judicial council that should do that. Let's begin to break the powers down, because Article 58 gives the president too many powers. So even the executive alone is more than sufficient. Why add the judiciary to the president's plate, etc.? Domahini Osiadeyo Ajimanbedu, thank you. Good morning. And then Gamanche. Kentucky Teku through the second. C.Dapaa is a champion fighter. Yes, Gamanche is asking Ghanaians, how can one woman have millions of dollars under her bed? That is what we'll be seeking justice for.
Okay. Did Oral receive anything on C.Dapaa?
Now, because we are careful not to.
The president will formally be making a formal presentation.
Yes.
But I would urge you to
that's the same answer.
I would urge you to exercise restraint so you don't disclose the content of your finding, so that once HE, the president, receives the details, he can give the appropriate directions and what have you. So hold on, you have it. It's going to be a public document.
Yes, absolutely.
So permit the president so that, you have it. A copy will be given to you. But for now, on Monday, HE, the president, will receive the oral report. And on that basis, a full disclosure will be made. So calm down.
Yeah. Mr. Kansi, this one is not oral, so I can talk about it. Later, maybe the people can choose to bring it under oral. Valco.
Okay, abusua we ne ensema ekoso ewo political highway ne so. Eye Cecilia Dapaa ene achese ora team no na edisa ensem we betu. Eye ensem mo me beda masese moje pene kokoti sa oduwi edimai. Aha, POG Media so. Beda masese.